Silver Sundays and Black Nights, where we'll take a look at one of the most intriguing and unique teams in all of pro sports, the Raiders. Since the formation of the American Football League in 1960, the Raiders have become pro football's winningest team. And they've done it with a left-handed quarterback, 3 head coaches who never had any pro head coaching experience, a punter drafted on the first round, no general manager, no offensive or defensive coordinator, no scouting computer, and no scouting combine. Like I said, this is a unique organization. And I'll be right back with more on Silver Sundays and Black Nights. The word mystique as an aura of mystical power surrounding a particular occupation or pursuit. Some teams have it, most don't. The Raiders surely have it. From the battle-scarred helmets to the skull and crossbones logo. From the slogan, commitment to excellence, to the misfits and mavericks who find a home with the Raiders and just win, baby. It all adds up to a certain mystique, whether real or imagined, that has materialized around this incredibly successful team.
For 25 years, the Raiders of Oakland and now Los Angeles have cultivated and reveled in their tough, ominous image. An image that has set the tone for the winningest team in professional sports. The Raiders had won just 9 games in 3 years prior to the arrival of Al Davis, who designed the blueprint for the organization and transformed them into winners.
Basically, it's been Al Davis that made the difference for the Raiders. I mean, he is the single personality that threads throughout the entire organization. His style, his dominant personality, his basic instincts, and his intelligence make for the ideal football executive. It's that single source of strength, power, and inspiration that's been the difference with the Raiders.
Davis patterned the Raiders' uniforms after the Army football team, the Black Knights of the Hudson. Their sinister image was shaped after Blackbeard, the pirate.
The image of the football team, the big tough guys, the pirates, the Raiders, a patch over one eye, swords through the head. The whole image of the Raiders is one of being sinister. But we want to be respected, we want to be imitated, we want to be feared. But if I can only be one of those things, I want the Raider organization to be feared.
They're a team that when you go to play them, you say, geez, if we make a mistake, we're in trouble. You know, we're going to beat it. And you sometimes play frightened football.
I never forget against St. Louis that we were playing them, and we came over to the stadium. We walked from a hotel. We had suits and ties, and all of us. We looked like a Boy Scout troop. And as we were walking up to the stadium, the Raider bus pulled up. These guys fell off of that bus with leather coats, dark glasses. It was a night game, too. Dark glasses, chains on. They looked like some people right out from Rahway State Prison. And I think our team, seeing them get off the bus, set the tone for the game. We got killed that evening.
Fear, intimidation, pressure, domination. All watchwords in the Raiders' lexicon. And attack. Attack on defense as well as offense, where the long pass is used as a matter of routine. The idea to expand the field offensively while stretching the limits of a defense, always pushing forward, keeping the defense off balance with the constant threat of the big strike.
They didn't win games because of cheap shots. They didn't win games because they intimidated people. I mean, they were just good. They had lots of talent, and they had a creed of excellence. I mean, they were, you know, that pride and poise and all that. They believed in that, and they played that way.
The silver and black that the Raiders wear is more than just a uniform. The slogan on the stationery, a commitment to excellence, pride and poise. You have to believe that. And when you're in the tough games, that comes out.
The Raiders employ no scouting service. They know talent when they see it. And that includes those players who have worn out their welcome with other teams.
I played with the Raiders 10 years, and I saw a lot of guys who other teams gave up on. They were not through as ball players. I think the teams just gave up on these guys. And there were a number of players that came through our ranks who were cast-offs. You know, we had that kind of thing where we were open arms to players who could help us.
Open arms for men like Lyle Alzado, Ben Davidson, and Ted Hendricks, number 83. For George Blanda, who at the age of 43 was the league's Player of the Year. For a so-called washed-up Jim Plunkett, who quarterbacked the Raiders to a pair of Super Bowl wins. And for men like John Matusak, number 72, a misfit whose personality found room to move with the Raiders.
I always believed in freedom of expression. I mean, you take someone who is expressive and you put the raps on them, then you get what? You get nothing. You get an air ball, you know. And to really get you got to let them go a little. You got to give them some rope. I only had 3 rules. 1 was be on time, 2 was pay attention, and 3 was play like hell when I tell you to. And when it came time to play, they went and did it. You know, what else is there?
It all adds up to winning. And on the Raiders, winning generates loyalty from both sides.
We may have people in the organization over the years who were not the most gifted at what we asked them to do, but they were bleeding for the Raider organization. They have a job for life, because it's our responsibility to never disappoint people whose goal is to never disappoint us.
Buying Christmas presents for my boy.
NFL, there have been over 7,000 games played. And although there are degrees of importance in every contest, very few attain the status of greatness. Now, a memorable football game is as rare as a masterpiece painting, and also very similar, for like a fine work of art, there's a good deal of subjectivity when it comes to defining its beauty, its power, and its significance. Well, there was a masterpiece created in Baltimore on the day before Christmas in 1977. It was a playoff game between the Colts and the Raiders. And since the temperature was in the 60s, there were no chestnuts roasting on an open fire, no Jack Frost nipping at your nose. But it was a chilling contest that will be forever frozen in time.
On an unseasonably warm December afternoon, a 1977 AFC playoff game pitted the young Baltimore Colts against the defending Super Bowl champions, the Oakland Raiders.
You have to like the Raiders at that time over us. And probably they were a little bit better team than we were. They had more experience. They intimidated people. And we were young and probably on the upstart and thought that we can get out there and compete against them.
We had a great deal of respect for Baltimore because Burt Jones was a terrific quarterback when he was hot. He had a lot of weapons to work with. Going into the game, I think we anticipated a high-scoring game.
Stabler's prediction seemed destined to come true for Oakland. Clarence Davis lifted the fortunes of the Raiders with the game's first touchdown. But soon Lady Luck was smiling on both defenses. Despite the presence of 2 of football's premier quarterbacks, Stabler and Burt Jones, neither team was able to gain the upper hand through much of the first half. Bruce Laird, number 40, one of the Colts' defensive leaders, finally got the best of his opponent.
What we tried to do with Kenny Stabler is try and give him different looks and try and mix up our defenses a lot, because he is a good veteran quarterback and very astute at reading defenses. I had weaseled behind one of the other guys in the zone. It looked like man-to-man. He tried to look downfield and didn't see anybody open. He tried to hit Van Egan in the flat. As soon as he released the ball, I just broke in front of Van Egan and picked off the pass. Once I got it, there was no one there. It was only Kenny and a couple linemen, so it was just clear sailing right down the field.
Laird's touchdown gave the Colts a surprising halftime lead.
I used to say something at halftime. I had no idea what it meant, but I heard it someplace, and it sounded like a pretty good idea. The last thing I'd say was, don't worry about the horse being blind, just load the wagon. Then let's go. I have no idea what it meant, but some guys kind of got excited when I said it.
Stabler certainly got excited. He loaded up the wagon with a full arsenal for the second half. With weapons like Cliff Branch, number 21, and sure-handed Dave Casper, number 87, the Raiders finally went on the offensive. The Stabler to Casper connection contributed 2 touchdowns to this aerial assault. But Baltimore's Burt Jones, number 7, as Stabler had predicted he could, sparked the Colts to their own explosive barrage. The Colts matched Oakland score for score, and the lead changed hands 6 times in the second half. The Colts regained the lead 31-28 with Ronnie Lee's second touchdown of the game.
We had them down the fourth quarter, and I can remember so well. We thought we had the game wrapped up, and we decided that we're going to just sit on the ball. We're going to try to run the clock off. I think that was the biggest mistake that we made. If we kept playing our game that we were playing, throwing the ball down the field for a first down, keeping them off balance, we would have won the game, but we were playing to hold a lead as opposed to playing to win. You know, you needed to keep putting pressure on the team and scoring points, and we just weren't doing that. You just can't sit on the ball against a great football team. That was a fatal mistake that we made strategy-wise.
As the clock wound down, Stabler took advantage of Baltimore mistakes by utilizing his flawless tight end.
Dave Casper is a prototype tight end, as far as I'm concerned, the best that ever played. And he was another one of those money players that always came up with things. We designed the play to get to David to a post-type pattern based on what they had done before with that down and distance. And it worked out, and it was not a very good throw.
All year long, we'd run that pattern. I'm just clearing out, but they had given a different type of coverage where I was getting a single coverage from a DB, and they said, hit the ghost to the post. So I get up line of scrimmage, and the first thing I do is whoever was that linebacker caught me right in the neck. I mean, I didn't even get off the line of scrimmage, so I set the whole play up by being a half-ass play at the time anyway. So I take off down the field, and this guy's covering me inside out, and I'm supposed to run a post. I cut across his face, and I was wide open, but the snake had to get rid of the ball because I was so late. And it's over here somewhere, so I played a lot of baseball. I just looked down, and it wasn't hard catching the ball because the darn thing came right straight down. But the hardest thing was when you took a look this way, saying, now where's that ball going to come down? Because you had to duck down and then pick your head up. And of course, you can't see anything on the top of that helmet until the ball starts coming down.
That play was, that made the game for us.
It put Oakland in position to hit the game-tying field goal. And well into overtime, the Raiders finally rediscovered their second-half form. This time, they sent the ghost all the way to the end zone. Dave Casper had put a scare in the Colts all day, and it was only fitting that his third touchdown gave Oakland the victory. The Raiders' overtime heroics put an end to the third longest game in NFL history. A game that will be remembered for heroes on both sides.
That was a great game. You know, the funny thing about that game, that Baltimore playoff game, is it didn't get talked about as one of the great. I mean, if it were a Super Bowl, that game had been a Super Bowl, it'd be the greatest football game ever played.
One which has been called the greatest ever. It was the 1974 playoff game in the Oakland Coliseum against the Miami Dolphins. Now, the Dolphins had beaten the Raiders in the playoffs the year before, then went on to win their second straight Super Bowl. Seldom does a game live up to its billing. This is one that did, and still burns brightly in the memory.
In the early 70s, the Miami Dolphins were a portrait of perfection. Following 2 consecutive Super Bowl titles in 1972 and 73, the Dolphins were intent on capturing a third. However, in 1974, Miami wasn't the only team flying its colors proudly. The Oakland Raiders were to pro football what Blackbeard the Pirate and his motley crew were to the open seas. And the silver and black's ominous image was frighteningly evident when they hosted the Dolphins in the opening round of the playoffs.
When we came out for that game, there was more excitement in the stadium than I ever heard anywhere or felt anywhere. And everyone had a black handkerchief, and from the pregame warm-ups, they were wired in Oakland. We were playing the Dolphins, and it was going to be big. I'm excited, the team's excited, we're going to get them and all this stuff. And we kick off, you know, the opening kickoff crescendo, you know, the thing, ooh, whap, we kick the ball. They get the ball, and phew, all the way back. He runs, I think it was Nat Moore, ran it back 100 yards. And now here we were, you know, Black Sunday, Raiders, revenge, Dolphins, get them in Oakland, fans crazy, team crazy, good, gonna do it. And the opening kickoff in our park, and they run it back all the way. So now it's 7-0, you know, and the fans haven't even sat down yet.
The Raiders' fortunes went from bad to worse when their explosive passing attack failed to ignite. But while the offense let opportunities slip away, the Raiders' defense took a firm hold on the Dolphins' elusive running game. Oakland took pressure off its struggling offense by placing it on Miami's. And when the first quarter ended, the opening kickoff return remained the only score. Game despite its early failure, and the all-out assault of the end zone eventually paid off. Charlie Smith's touchdown put Oakland on the board, and as the game wore on, the Raiders continued to focus their attention on the Dolphins' secondary. Biletnikov's circus catch was ruled out of bounds, but Oakland's ringmaster called for a repeat performance.
Ball on the 13, 2nd and 10. Stay with that. Looks left, throws right. Biletnikov, a leaping catch, touchdown!
Trailing for the first time, 14-10, Miami's Don Shula refueled his team's competitive fires. The fleet-footed Paul Warfield's touchdown helped put the Dolphins back on top, 19-14. However, in the fourth quarter, the Raiders answered the score with their own speed burner wide receiver Cliff Branch, number 21.
Before he let you go take it.
Right.
I think you can get to around the outside. I can put on the outside hand.
I can run under, you know. I can take it that way.
Good job, good job.
They're going to the air now. Here's the deep one, the Browns. Deep, deep. He's got it! Amazing catch by
Branch's 72-yard touchdown gave Oakland the lead once more. But with time becoming a factor, Miami called upon its punishing running attack to eat up both yardage and the clock on its way to the Raider end zone. Fullback Larry Zonka muscled his way to the Oakland 23, setting up halfback Benny Malone's Herculean effort that gave Miami a 26-21 lead. Just 2 minutes remained after Malone's touchdown. And while the time left seemed insufficient to the grieving Raiders, it seemed like an eternity to the concerned Dolphins.
I remember thinking that I wished on the scoring play that we had
that put us ahead. I was concerned because there was so much time left. I knew that Stabler had the capacity to take that ball back down the field, and he did.
When you get in a pressure situation like that where everything's riding on a single play or two, there's no one that you'd rather have involved in that play than Kenny Stabler. He has the uncanny knack of putting a ball between people and between hands and just being able to slip things in there from all different angles, and that's exactly what he did.
With time running out, Stabler dashed Miami's hopes of a third consecutive title in dramatic fashion.
Here he is, baiting, looking. He's under the gun. He's caught, he throws. It is. He caught it.
When Stabler had to loop the ball up because he was hit as he threw, it looked like he might have been lobbing it into the promised land for Miami. But no, Davis got there first, and it was the Raiders' promised land.
Oakland's 28-26 win evoked emotional extremes, characteristic of only the greatest of games.
After the game, there was Don just crying, just letting it all out, crying, and afterwards saying he was just so disappointed that for the guy's sake. But this is the one time in my life that I've seen him actually just sit down and let the tears flow for a disappointment.
You'll never see a better game than this one, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure you'll agree.
Frankly, it was maybe the greatest football game I have ever seen. It was just incredible.
There are many ways to win football games, and no one has mastered as many as the Raiders owner Al Davis. Since 1963, when he first took over the failing Oakland franchise, the Raiders have dominated the NFL in terms
Use of his talent, so they tried.